Welcome to the Pipeline and People podcast powered by Versorix, the show where boutique firm leaders trade less admin for more advisory. Each week, we share actionable tactics to keep your client pipeline full and your team performing at its best. I'm your host, Jada Breezy. Let's dive in. Today's guest is Michael Garcia-Castillo, founder and managing partner of Co-Studio, a multidisciplinary platform built to help emerging ventures and talent-led brands scale faster and more meaningfully. Could you kick us off with a quick look at your background and what inspired the creation of Co-Studio?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jaden, and great to be here. And just a little bit about Co-Studios, as you had mentioned. I think Co-Studios today is a continued evolution of a desire to be involved in the early stage ecosystem and continue to find ways that we can provide tangible value to critical part of any venture's life, which is the beginning part of it, and also with the headwinds and the challenges that come within working with the space. And a little bit about me. So I come from a very service-oriented background. So I was in advertising, brand, and marketing agencies for a good chunk of the beginning of my career. I was able to help grow an independent agency called Walton Isaacson, based out of Los Angeles and Chicago. And in that process, we were a highly entrepreneurial agency. And if you think about the early 2000s, there weren't a lot of agencies that were also kind of creating their own brands, launching their own properties. We were creating our own television shows. Some of the brands that we launched were Right Gin, Avion Tequila, which was acquired by Pernod Ricard. I got a chance to executive produce and create a television show for ESPN. So I started really seeing this other world, which we now call the early stage and emerging world, right? I didn't know what it was at that point. And at the same time, I was watching my clients at that point were the Unilevers and PepsiCos and Beam Centauris of the world. I'm watching the M&A kind of season start, Dollar Shave Club and Skinny Girl cocktails and you name it. You can think about some of these big acquisitions, and I saw all of this kind of fallen into a place where I saw an opportunity to bring that level of understanding on how to not only develop but how to build long-standing brands for Fortune 100 companies, but bringing it upstream to this early stage environment. And we started as an incubator. And in 2016-17, we started as an incubator, and that took us into a close to 6 year journey where we incubated close to 15 companies. I say close because some of them don't make it even to the starting line, as you know. We were lucky enough to launch 15 companies. 7 of them are still alive. 3 of them have gone outside capital now, which operate in their own, in their own worlds. And where we saw was that organically, we started having a lot of very similar conversations. We started looking at the data. We started looking at our experience now, 6, 7, 8 years in now that we're in 2025. And what we realized is we had built a place where, there was a lot of ways that we can help this ecosystem, and we built the platform, and that's when we went into this platform model that allowed us to leverage the data that we had and really being able to analyze it and see how can our brand and marketing operation experience and expertise play a positive role and in the early stage growth of organizations. And we've designed business units that allow us to have all kinds of discussions with a level of flexibility that you typically don't find. And that's why we're here. And we've been now 9 years in business and continue to learn every day.
Amazing. What is like just going a little bit deeper into what you do?
Yeah.
A client comes to you and says, "Hey, we want to sign with you. We want your services. What are you gonna do for us?" What would you say?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I always say is like we are a plug-in brand operation, a brand and marketing operations partner.
Okay.
When you think about that journey, I think it's a place where we come from the philosophy that brand is an operating moat. So we'll thank Mr. Warren Buffett for that one, and we believe in that. But what we believe in it is the idea that is not just it doesn't just inform brand doesn't just inform marketing or consumer facing things. That is actually an operating pillar of how companies today are being built, right? So when you think about brand as an operating pillar of your business, you make decisions differently, you train differently, you make hiring differently, and you build brand and do marketing differently. So it becomes a part of the DNA of the company that then allows it to grow and scale. And ultimately, when you look at that's why it's no coincidence that the best companies have the best brands, because they're the ones that are best integrated within each other. And that is in a nutshell where what people bring to us, right? And when we bring that DNA and that mentality and the philosophy, then what we can do is we can bring that level of expertise in how to operationalize brand as within your organization, and allows us to work with technical founders, right? Folks who are incredibly good in teams that are incredibly good at creating something that is solving a true problem. And also with talent and with other types of founders that that have different capabilities and expertises. So typically people come to us when they say they need brand and marketing operations support. That's we're the bat phone that we want people to be calling.
For sure. Awesome. Yeah. So you've built brand strategies for everyone from Fortune 100 to Fortune 500 to creators. How do you balance like the structure of systems, the chaos of creativity in such different size and different structured organizations?
I'll use the nerdiest word I can think of, and I think it all comes down to first principles, right? I think there are first principles that guide the methodology and the processes that we've built that are highly customized to all of those types of businesses that you've talked about. I typically describe co-studios as it's like if you went to a yoga studio and in one room is hot yoga, the other room is goat yoga, the other one is helicopter yoga, the other one is this yoga. It's all based on the same principle of, what yoga is how it's supposed to help you, but it's in the context of each one of those environments. And I think a lot about your question in that way, because we have some first principles on the ways that we do it. And then we have some certain processes and frameworks that have now been, tried and true and tested and been successful. And we've also failed with. So it's allowed us to now have an optimized process that based on those first principles, we can customize and we can be flexible enough that whether we're talking to a Fortune Fortune 100 venture department in beverage versus a democratization of healthcare startup trying to get to their first $1 million in business, some of the ideas still become the same. It's just how you execute them every day that is different, and that is where you bring it down to, you leverage it to where that company is in their life stage.
Got it. And yeah, so not only a life stage, but you've also worked with a lot of people across a lot of different industries. What shifts are you seeing in how founders are leading creative, kind of more distributed teams?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, listen, I think ultimately there's the balance of distribution and distributed teams and being able to have kind of the high contact and connection. And I think a lot of that depends on the circumstances. I think for us, because we are in this brand and marketing kind of operational expertise, going back to that first principles concept, I think that we have the ability to have a wider range of opportunities that we get to explore, right? Because ultimately it comes down to your customer, ultimately it comes down to a point of view and your IP, and there's certain elements that still kind of make this a more consistent kind of way of thinking. But how we think about the teams, though, it's about then who is going to live, breathe, and live and breathe these businesses every day. That I think this is where the flexibility is really interesting and really important. And I think it's especially critical when you think of branded marketing, which is usually the places where resources are needed, and it's usually your most expensive line item as a founder or as a, you know, as a recently backed venture backed company. That marketing and brand item is looks really gross in most in most P&Ls. And I think that's part of it. That's where technology is really kind of changing the game. This is where a redistribution of talent is playing a different game, because it's allowing us to be much more deliberate in how you spend your money and still get the same outcome, if not better, because you're kind of using different systems and operations. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does for sure. Um, that makes sense. And diving now kind of into today's topic, which is about top talent and what they want. In your experience, what kind of high performing creative strategists or operators, what are they quietly asking for now? Maybe some of them aren't voicing it directly, but have you seen any shifts there?
Yeah, and in terms of, are you talking about in terms of what they're looking for in terms of opportunities, or are you saying more from a industry perspective?
Maybe a little bit of both, but I feel like ping pong tables and things like that aren't that they're not nobody cares about those anymore. People want like a
Yeah.
solid culture, they want direction, they want to be involved in decision making. Like what else have you seen kind of in that sense, both internally within your within co-studios and also for your clients?
Yeah, and it's funny because I think my answer would look, and I'm sure for you, it would look and sound different, I should say, even 18 months ago than today, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the theme that I continue to see. I think there is just such a wide range of opportunities out there, that it is those people, and I'm talking about literally individual, not even putting this on the companies themselves right now. I think it's on the people, it's on culture, and it's on society to evolve the way that we think about being professionally employed, right? And how we think about what those opportunities may bring, and how an evolution in your business, whether it's because of technology. I mean, listen, I started as a creative copywriter. If I was still trying to be a copywriter today, I would be really scared, because I have something called an iPhone now that can give me, give or
Yeah.
take, the headlines that I would have to pay somebody 60 to say $70,000 a year to come up with headlines. So I think there's just a general evolution that I tend to look at it from an optimistic perspective, that I think can give new life to people who feel stuck in their jobs, who may have always been creative but got stuck in a place where now, with more creative tools, they can reimagine what their next chapter of their professional career. So my theme here is that I still think it's very much a Wild West, but I think this is where ingenuity is the right word I would use from individuals, that you have an ability to reimagine who you are in the professional market space. And these types of businesses, and even like my business model, is very much rooted not on your traditional 9 to 5 full-time everything. Mine is a combination of, sometimes we hire for the ventures directly, sometimes we hire internal for HQ, sometimes we have strategic partnerships with individuals. We have plenty of founders who are building their own startups but also need to keep their lights on at their home, and they have families. And we've built an entrepreneurial mindset of businesses that attracts a certain individuals. But I think my broader idea and my broader thought is that I think that's happening everywhere. And those who are able to not be scared of repositioning themselves, like we reposition brands, I think it's a really exciting time for really smart people to do some really cool things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it sounds like you guys have a fantastic and very kind of forward looking culture at Co Studios. And culture is a huge thing when it comes to brand. I've been talking to a lot of culture, EDI, OD firm leaders, and they've all kind of positioned it in a way that's very, it's not just, you know, how do I describe this? Like it's a much bigger part of what organizations think. Is that a part of what you touch on in your services is culture, and or do you kind of stick more just
It's a really interesting question, and I say yes in the simplest of terms, meaning that yes, of course, I think there's always a culture that is built. I think mostly organically. I don't think words in a page of your culture really matter that much. I think it makes who have the decision makers feel good, that the fact that they're trying to translate what's in their head and how they want to act and how they want people around them to act into a nice piece of paper that then agencies and somebody is monetized into being like, we need to make culture a core part of your brand foundation. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I acknowledge that there's a level of schmooziness in this idea of culture that I don't sign up for. However, I do believe in the idea of organic culture building based on a set of beliefs or a set of a specific mission that everybody, regardless where you come from, can all just raise their focus on and build a culture around. Hey, this is going to be a culture of hard work because we can't get this thing done. And sorry if I cursed earlier.
It's
we
okay.
can't get we can't get things done if we don't all radically focus on this belief that this is going to work or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I think culture is a huge part of what we do, but a is not a repeatable strategic foundation that we set out to try to create for organizations. However, we believe that the sharper your brand operations and proposition is, the more easily it is that your culture is just going to create itself, if that makes any sense, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like,
No, it
so
does.
so yes, we're not like the fuzzy wuzzy guys that will kind of think of culture as that, but we do believe that a super tight vision of a company typically just brings and attracts the same type of mindset that then organically creates a culture. So if you are a culture where parties are important to you, and because you're as a founder love your free time and or you're super social and having making sure that you can have happy hours because that's what you love, well then don't build a digitally first a digital nomad company. Make sure that you're building a culture where you're building in San Francisco where I live. Like,
Yeah.
so it just makes those decisions uh, in a really tactical and tangible way.
Got it. And is that directly or more of an indirect effect? Like, for example, do you have a kind of example of when you embedded into a team and the problem wasn't, marketing or any other elements of brand, it was actually like culture or vision that needed to be changed?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I would answer it maybe a couple different ways. The first one is, I think when more times than not, we know that we're going into these engagements and these opportunities, knowing that whether we are doing it ahead of time at once or whether we're going to be doing it for the next 3 years, we are changing and we are evolving how brand impacts the success of the business. And the reason I say that is because sometimes, like, you don't have time to be like, let's wait 6 weeks, let's do a sprint, let's all agree on it, and then let's go and implement it. Even for, even that is too much. I would say that sometimes it's worth it if it's the right time, the right moment. You like take the time. It's not, whatever. But sometimes you're like, we need the people, we need the brains, and you kind of have to embed that DNA when we're embedded in there every day, knowing that we're just living for the other day, which is a lot of companies out there. So I think it's knowing what you're building and that you're bringing that part of the DNA sequence into the equation, and then leveraging that in order to make short-term decisions, everyday decisions, and also knowing when it's time to be like, we need to call a timeout, we need to do this, XYZ reason, and the output kind of gets you to the same place.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So turning the lens kind of inward onto Coast Studios now.
Yeah.
Where are you today versus where do you want to be in 12 months?
Yeah, great question. And it's a good time that we all kind of met and connected because we are in an evolution of our own. As I mentioned before earlier,
Mhm.
we started as an incubator and we really took last year to analyze our business. The reason I sound so confident in all this is easy flowing is because we've been doing a lot of work of internal look in terms of how not only can we continue to do the same level and taste level of businesses that we've been lucky enough to participate in and to be a part of, which we're obviously really proud of, but how can we scale it in a way that allows us to be able to extend our reach? So when you ask that question, we've been in this place of proven that we've been alive for the last 10 years, reintroducing ourselves under this Co-Studios uh, positioning and scaling. And then I always like to say is like for us is a really easy thing right now, open for business and continue to explore that that route in a way that we can bring some of this now, kind of some of these receipts that we have in our back pocket where we have some really great wins and some really interesting and hopefully meaningful companies that are out there doing their thing. And we're looking to scale. So what we look in 12 months is hopefully we have doubled our business, doubled our business, that it can really show that now all the exercising we've done over the last year, that we can really fit in that shirt. It's like that we bought that large shirt. We're trying to go from a medium to a large. We've been like P90Xing. Like we now need to make sure that we can fit in that.
That's awesome.
That shirt. So that's where we are, and hopefully we'll be in that place in 12 months from now.
Yeah, of course. Best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, I've got a few minutes left here, so I want to move on to that rapid fire that we discussed earlier. So it's just going to be a few questions, whatever's on the top of your head, quick answers. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. What is the most overrated trend in creative consulting right now?
The most overrated trend in creative consulting right now, two-tone brand visual identity.
Yeah, minimalist logos as well.
Yeah.
Something about them. Go back.
Layers are okay. Having a personality across layering and colors it's a good thing. Is not everything has to be white and color. Yeah, so that's probably the most overrated thing right now.
Yeah. One thing any founder can do this week to create a better work environment and a better brand.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
One thing that a founder can do this week to help create a better brand.
Spend a lot of time in your DMs and in your customer service and read everything and talk to people. The best.
Interesting. And then second to last, your favorite recent campaign, client or not, that made you say, I wish we did that.
Man, I was just talking about this to somebody. I'll give you a good one. The Chicago White Sox, Chicago Bulls collaboration jersey. I wish we would have done that. It's actually a good agency friends of ours out of Chicago called Project Art. They did the entire launch around. It's amazing. Imagine like the Bulls 90s jersey, like the Jordan jersey, but for the White Sox. So that one most recently is the one that I wish we would have been a part of. So kudos to those guys.
I haven't seen that. And I actually grew up, I spent like 4 or 5 years growing up in Chicago. So I'll have to go look at that.
We started Co-Studios in 2016 in Chicago. So I lived there for many years. Now I'm in the Bay Area, but I became a Bulls fan. Bulls and Bears are the teams that stuck with me for there. So check it out. It's amazing. It's so cool.
I'm more of a Blackhawks guy myself, even though they're just terrible.
All right, we should cut this interview now because I'm a Blues fan. So I think this is a good time to end here.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm up in Toronto and I just watched the Leafs get demolished by Florida.
At least you didn't lose the way we did this year, which was horrendous as well. 1.6 seconds away. But anyway, let's not bore anybody about
that. Anyway, final question I want to know is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
I'll give you one of the best advice that I've ever been given, because I think I've gotten a lot of really great advice, especially lately. I will say especially lately, which is really cool that you can be older and still get good advice. Always ask for feedback. Good or bad, always ask for feedback, whether it's your boss, whether you're presenting and somebody was next to you, whether it was anything. Never be afraid of asking for feedback because it always helps you improve. So that would be one feedback.
Okay, great. Well, we're about to wrap up. So how did I do?
Great, man. Thank you so much. It was just fun. Hopefully this was helpful and your listeners and your watchers enjoy all the hockey talk.
Yeah, for sure. Really insightful. Thanks for joining. Where can people find you or explore more about Co Studios?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is costudios.co. Simple website. Please reach out to us there, or you can find me on LinkedIn is /mgarcast. So my name, Miguel Garcia-Castillo, and one of those two. We'd love to connect.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Until
much.
next time, I'm Dan Parisi. This is the Pipeline People podcast.